This is the Holy Shekel Crypto Gematria Bible Code Scan for Wednesday, August 19th, 2026, which is Yom Revii, which means the fourth day of the week, the sixth day of Elul, the year 5786, and the Parshat of the week is Teitze, and the Daf Yomi is Chullin 111, Tractate Chullin, page 111. Today is a great example of what this is all about, and getting in a little more, honing in, focusing in on what this Crypto Gematria Bible Code Scan is supposed to be doing, and slowly but surely it's taking form in an amazing way. And the idea is accessing some kind of information through numbers with, I think I mentioned this yesterday, with just a little bit more than just intellect, mathematics, logic, science, wit, expertise. These are all part of it. But there's something else that would go into the metaphysical, and that's the place that this is seeking to tap into, where you're getting some kind of guidance, and you're accessing ideas in the Torah through Gematria. And I'll leave it at that. Okay. Today, so here's a few things about this coding system. Number one, it's with cryptocurrency, and not the stock market. It can be theoretically, it could be done with the stock market as well, but I mentioned the reason before that crypto has like a lighter quality to it. I don't know how else to describe it. It has like a more airy, kind of ethereal quality to it. It's also around the clock. You can trade it on Sunday. I wouldn't trade it on Saturday because it's Shabbat, but on Saturday night you could trade it. And it's very new, and it's still taking shape and form. It's been around for 15 years now, maybe 16 years. Let's see. No, 2009. So 17 years. So it's still relatively young, still a teenager. And but anyway. So the idea is that there's a coin for each day. So Wednesday is Bitcoin Cash, and there's only 5 coins, and so Bitcoin Cash is Wednesday for a few reasons. Usually, the coins in Gematria have the same value as a day, but in Wednesday it doesn't really work. For Tuesday and Monday it works perfectly like that. Thursday it kind of works. Friday, not so much, but for Wednesday, it sort of works. Let's see, Bitcoin Cash is equal to 103, and 103 is the numerical value of the Hebrew word mincha, and mincha is the middle prayer. So in that way, it's connected. And Wednesday is equal to 100, so you can add 3 plus 100, so 103, you can say that. And 103 is a number of Wednesday. So it's like Bitcoin Cash, Wednesday, and plus 3 is 103. It's the third coin of the week, you could say, because Monday's the first, Tuesday's the second. There's different ways you can connect it. Okay. Anyway, so one of the rules is that it's checked at a specific time per day, but it's different every day, but it has to be stated what number that is, what time that is, because that itself is a Gematria. So usually the way it works is I'm going with the flow. It's not like I'm saying I have to be back by 4 p.m. and this and that, gotta be here and it has to be this time, or 3:57. No, anytime. Sometimes I take lunch earlier, sometimes I take lunch later. Okay. So, but when I'm ready to do it, that's, I'll give it like a few minutes from now. I don't want to be too rushed, or a minute from now, maybe. But if it's like, because every minute is its own Gematria. So if I finished lunch, let's say, at 3:25, I would probably, let's just say I finished lunch, I benched, that means grace after meals, whatever, 3:31, okay. But today, in my mind, I want to keep this as neutral as possible. So it just came to me intuitively to say, wait a little bit. Don't do it right away. Check the price at 3:58 p.m. Okay? Okay, it's 20 minutes, not too bad. I have to say I finished lunch around 3:25, 3:30. So I had a good 20 minutes. These days, 20 minutes is nothing. It goes like that. So I had some time to kind of like, get ready. And then I was put my finger on the button, and Bitcoin Cash, USD, price 258, click. That's when I checked the price. Wednesday, August 19th, 2026, Yom Revii, 6th of Elul, 586, Parshat Teitze, Chullin 111 at 3:58 p.m. Israel Daylight Time. Bitcoin Cash has a value of $204.62 in dollars. Every day I do three currencies: dollars, shekels, and euros. Okay? That same number of 204.62 is equal to 608, converts into 608.39 in shekels. So 608 shekels and 39 agorot. And that number translates into I'm not translating shekels to euros, I'm translating dollars to euros. Might be the same, but might be not. But anyway, dollars to euros is 175.78. And if you've been following this for a little bit, you'll realize that the whole idea of getting the price number is that's the number generator. You could say a random number generator, but I want to think that it's not random. I want to think that it's like there is a system and order to it. There's like some kind of pattern. So the prices even follow some kind of a script. And I don't think I'd be the only one who says that the prices. So that's whatever voice told me to wait till 3:58 knew that at 3:58 it's going to be exactly these prices because I checked the price an hour later and it wasn't the same price, even though it was close, but it was enough to make it not that number. And generally speaking, unless in rare circumstance, I do not use kololim. Kololim means there's a rule in Gematria that if you get a certain number and it equals one less than the number you're looking for, you can use the word itself as a point. The sum of its parts is considered a point, so that it equals that. I use that sometimes, and actually lately I have been having a very good appreciation for kololim, but in this, for determining the number and the Gematria, it has to be on the nostril, as they say. Okay, so at this time, at 3:58, it was known that 204.62 would translate into 608. Now, why is that important? Because the whole point of this is like an oracle. An oracle connects you with what's going on around you and sources it in the Torah and shows you what's going on. So I get the price 204. It's 3:58 p.m. And then like I told you, like I mentioned the other day, like the cents, like 204.62. So 62 is just a name, usually an English name. So 62, I can say Leslie is 62. I could say 62 is also Menachem, Menachem, and Poland. Okay, and many other things, but we'll leave it there for now. It also equals dollar. And the English word Mashiach, Mashich, Mashiach, with an A. 62. Okay, now 204, right off the top of my head, I know that 204 equals tzaddik, which means righteous one, righteous man. Okay. But 204, also, I'm going to go back to my story, but let me just say the first thing, that 204 equals the words Hashem Yilachem Lachem. Adonai Yilachem Lachem means God will fight the war for you. And this is in Exodus chapter 14, verse 14. And there's a bunch of other things, but I'll come back to that. Earlier today, I was watching a video. It caught my eye. It was in the 700 Club, and it was featuring the testimony of Greg Hirschberg. And Greg Hirschberg was talking about how when he was younger, he wasn't religious or spiritual at all, and then he was going to go party in Jamaica or somewhere in the Bahamas or something. And then he said that he had this intuition that pulled him, that drew him to go to Israel with his newlywed fiancée at the time. Or fiancée as newlywed. Either they were married or his fiancée. Maybe they were just married. So they go to Israel and they're partying and stuff. And then right before they go, they also wanted to go to Greece, I guess. But right before they left, he said he had this unbelievable drawing, it was like a tractor beam, like something was pulling him. Like I think the way he described it was, someone had a fishing rod and sent it out, and the hook went straight into his chest. That's how he described it, which is pretty dramatic. But anyway, this was in the north, in the Galilee, and he described Mount Tabor, which, if you do some reading about Mount Tabor, it has been traditionally known as the Mount of Transfiguration. Mount Tabor is a large hill of biblical significance in the lower Galilee at the eastern end of the Jezreel Valley, 18 kilometers west of the Sea of Galilee. In the Hebrew Bible and Joshua and Judges, Mount Tabor is the site of the Battle of Mount Tabor between the Israelite army under the leadership of Barak and the army of the Canaanite king of Hazor, Jabin, commanded by Sisera. Okay, and Mount Tabor is one of the mountains identified as the site of the transfiguration of Jesus. The Hebrew name Tabor has long been associated. One second, I have to plug this in. All right, what's really interesting is that I was watching this video, and he was talking. It's a very powerful video. If you want to see his testimony, like he felt that God drew him up there, told him to come up and went to the and he prayed there. He had a vision. He had a vision there, and so basically, without going so deep into this, in connection with transfiguration of Jesus, the mountain has been known in the past as Mount Transfiguration. It was a namesake of Tabor light in Christian theology. And check, okay. Anyway, bottom line, he had a vision of Jesus there. All right, of Yeshua. He had a vision of Yeshua there, and it's a very powerful testimony. But this is before I check the prices. All right. I checked the price at a certain time that something told me to check it at, and the price of Bitcoin Cash, which is always a Wednesday, it's only a Wednesday, and the price in shekels is 608. At that moment, because I checked the price afterwards, it wouldn't have been 608, it would have been 607. And remember, there's no kolim here. You have to be exactly on the nostril. 608 equals Tabor. In Hebrew Gematria, it does. Tabor equals 608. This is before I checked the prices. I could tell you right now. Tabor is, I saw it, my eyes nearly, I couldn't believe what I saw. Taf is 400, Resh is 200, Bet is 2, and Vav is 6. That's 608. That's the price of Bitcoin Cash at that minute. And there's no way that anything that I saw influenced that number, because I saw it before, and there's no connection between, and I would never have waited that long to check it. If I did, so I could check at 358. All right, so it's 608 shekels and 39 agorot. So 39, the name would be Amy, or you could say Angel. I know someone named Angel, actually. It's a guy's name. All right. I also think it's Amber as well. I think Amber, something like Amy, but I think it's Amber also. And then in euro, it's 175. So let's go back to so anyway. So what I'm saying is that this is amazing. This is what I mean by this oracle type situation. Okay. And so 608 is equal to Tabor, and I had been hearing about this Tabor being talked about beforehand, and I think you got the point. So now 175 is the years of the life of Abraham. And I'm not sure what that means, but that's the number. And 78 is equal to Robert. So the euro wasn't really... Yeah, no, that's fine. 175 is also the amount of pages in Tractate Gematria, because it goes to 176, but it starts on page 2, so it's 175 pages. And so and this developed a new idea called neighbors. I call it Shechenim. If you want to find, as they're all different elaborate systems of coding, more and more coding, and coding within coding. And this thing called neighbors is a new concept that got born today from this kind of thing. It's like Chullin, but it's with words. Okay, I was doing research on a word today and yesterday called Mekir B'cha. Mekir B'cha means from within your midst, and it shows up in this week's Torah portion a few times, and in last week's Torah portion, and others, but not very, very common, but it happens in specific places. Probably not more than 10 times in the whole Torah, but in Tanakh, maybe altogether, maybe 15 times. Something like that, 15, 20 times in the whole Bible. Mekir B'cha means within your midst, okay? And I was looking at that. But let's go back to the price of Bitcoin Cash in dollars, which is 204. Now 204, I mentioned Tzaddik, which is righteous man, but there's an opposite Gematria. If you're familiar with Hebrew, the word B'nai Belial. B'nai Belial means like good for nothings, mean like wicked people. Belial means with no Beli, or literally means Belial, without any yoke. They have nothing constraining them. They'll do whatever they want. And B'nai Belial means people that are like this. So it's kind of ironic that the words B'nai Belial has the same numerical value as Tzaddik. You would think if it's Gematria, why do they have the same value? You can't compare them, but that's the thing about Gematria. It's not always going to be synonymous. They could be antonyms sometimes. Sometimes it's a contrast. It's just linking. That's all it is. So B'nai Belial. So what does B'nai Belial have to do with Mekir B'cha? Because there is a verse in a few parshas ago, 2 parshas ago, I think, or A, and it's in Deuteronomy 13. So the parshas A. It says the words are Yatsu Anashim B'nai Belial. What's the next word? Mekir B'cha. So here's what I'm developing. If you get the Gematria to a word, but it's a neighbor to another word, it's like it's equal to the other word because it's its neighbor. And you think that's kind of crazy, but and this conceptually it should be the same as Chullin. It should be. So I'm still weighing it out, when to use Chullin, when not. But this is very interesting because I was studying a lot about Mekir B'cha, and today's coin that price came to a word that was next to Mekir B'cha. It wasn't Mekir B'cha, it was B'nai Belial is equal to 204. That's the price today. And I was just going very deep into that word today. So it's too close to be like a coincidence. So again, this is the style of it's a process of honing in on connecting things in high levels of connectivity based on the movement of crypto, based on the energy, and I like to say computation power of the crypto market, thus bringing value to the crypto market. Well, either that's a primary source or secondary source, whatever. It's one of the values. It's bringing value to the crypto market, but it's also a technology, it's an information technology, it's a method to compute gematrias. And we see that there's something about Tabor today, because someone was talking about Tabor. I wait to an unusual time to get the price. I click at that moment, and that moment the price equals Tabor in Hebrew. And it's of shekels nonetheless. It's even more, it's the Hebrew currency, and it equals that thing that was just talked about before. So that's really what this, I'm very excited about this, because this is a very good example of what this crypto Gematria Bible code scan should be.